Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. It has been a little bit yet again, and I just wanted to give a quick explanation before I jump into the books that I'm currently reading and hoping to read this month. But my daughter and I got a cold, which nothing too serious, just we weren't feeling the greatest. And then she had her sleep regression. She's about to turn 2, and that was really rough. Just she was sleeping through the night, she was having no problems going to sleep, and then all of a sudden bedtime was a struggle, and it was almost impossible to find time to read or even record. So I apologize for that, but I am back. Things are now back to normal, and I am finally starting to read again. So this video is just to talk about what I'm currently reading. Because it's like mid-April at this point, I'm not really gonna do like a TBR. And you know, from this point forward, I'm just gonna do like an MBR. I saw an MBR on Liam Lyceum's channel. I'll link his channel down below, and MBR stands for might be read. So for people who are mood readers like myself, I feel like this is a more realistic approach because I can't really tell what I'm gonna be in the mood for. Like at the beginning of each month, I kind of have an idea on what I'm feeling like. Every time I finish a book, it influences what I might want to pick up next. So sometimes that is a book that I've mentioned already, or it's a book that I haven't mentioned already. And instead of putting pressure on myself to read books that I've talked about on this channel, I'm just gonna do a might be read, like no pressure. Like as of right now, these are the books that I'm interested in, but I'm not gonna hold myself accountable to actually read it this month if I'm not feeling like it, you know? So with that being said, so far I have already finished one book, so that's a lot better for March because March was a disaster. I didn't finish anything, so we're gonna pretend March did not happen. But at least for April, I've already finished a book, and it was a thriller mystery book. And based on how I was feeling after that, I actually felt like reading a nonfiction book. So right now I am reading a book called Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel. She is a psychotherapist, and she primarily focuses on relationships and infidelity. And while this isn't something that I have been experiencing personally, I do find subjects such as relationships and how we interact with other people really fascinating. It's part of what I studied in college, so I find this topic to be really fascinating. And actually, one of my husband's coworkers recommended this book to me. And when they were telling me how amazing that this author was, I decided to give it a chance, you know, especially since it's right up my alley. I'm only on page 56, but this is a short book. It's only like 220 pages, and I'm really fascinated by what she has to say so far. This book deals with relationships, whether it's marriage or long-term relationships, and just keeping the balance of desire and security, and how too much security in a relationship can decrease the desire. Whereas on the flip side, if there's too much desire, that usually means there's not a lot of security in the relationship. Think like when you first start a relationship, everything is new and exciting and vibrant. It's really exciting, but yet there's no security because you're not really sure where the relationship is heading. And then if you've been with someone for a while, you get to know them more. But the more you know them, sometimes the less you desire them because there's not as much new discovery about the other person. So I think this is a really interesting topic. I think this is the kind of book that anyone can really benefit from, whether you're in a long-term relationship or not. Even if you're wanting to be in one, I think this is relevant to just kind of understand human relationships. So again, I'm not done, but this is what I'm currently reading right now, and I think it's fascinating. Another book I'm currently reading, I'm still making my way through Winds of Strife by E.G. Gutman. I am halfway through. This book is definitely taking me a lot longer than I wanted it to. I'm on page 268, and this book is like over 500 pages. So I really like this book. I really like the magic system. I am liking the characters, but for some reason, the middle is just really hard for me to get through right now. That is why I actually started doing what other booktubers are doing, and I'm starting to read multiple books at the same time. I used to be one of those people that would just focus on one book until I finished it and then I would start another one. It was almost impossible for me to like read multiple books at the same time. But now that I'm getting older and I'm really trying to understand my reading tastes more as I've changed over the years, I'm starting to realize that sometimes just day by day, I am in a different mood for a different book. And nothing against this one. Right now I'm more in a nonfiction mood, but I am still making my way through this. This book primarily is about this kingdom of Olyanath and how people who are allowed to practice magic are men. The king is not for women practicing magic, and in fact, he wants all female magic users to be eradicated and killed. And the main character, Nye, we do get several points of view, but Nye is like the primary main character. His job is to kill these magic users. They're called conspirators in this book. But in fact, he is working undercover because he wants to protect these female magic users, but he has to fulfill his role and try to infiltrate from the inside and try to bring the king down because he does not agree that women shouldn't be able to use magic. This is a really interesting magic system because it deals with moods and how you can harness calm or passion, anger, hatred. It's really interesting. And like I said, I am really liking it, but for some reason, I don't know if it's like the descriptions or if it's just maybe just a lot of information, but it's just really hard to get through right now. Like I can maybe read like 10 pages at a time and then I just feel kind of heavy. Like my mind just feels like I worked really hard and now I need to read something else. Nothing against the book. I am still really enjoying this, but I feel like this is a book that I am just going to slowly make my way through. So this is another book that I'm currently reading. As to what I've completed already this month, I will talk about it in a wrap-up video, so I'm not going to talk about the book that I finished. So instead, I'm going to talk about the books I currently want to read for the next half of April once I finish those or make my way through those. Right now, I know like Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative is wanting to read the Mistborn trilogy, the first era one, and I do have the trilogy, but I never read it yet. So I would like to jump aboard and also read Mistborn. I have only read Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, and I did really enjoy that one. So I'm really curious to see what I think about Mistborn. And then another nonfiction book that I'm wanting to read is actually the second book that Esther Perel has written, and that is called The State of Affairs, Rethinking Infidelity. And the first book that I mentioned and this one kind of tie hand in hand. Mating in Captivity talks about relationships and finding that balance between desire and security, whereas this book actually talks about affairs or infidelity in relationships, like why they happen. Does it really mean the end of your relationship, or can you rebuild and move forward from it? And what leads to people going into an affair? And it's actually not exactly what we think. She actually has some TED Talks on YouTube where she discusses this topic that I find really fascinating. I love anything that has to deal with self-improvement, relationships, just dynamics between people. So I really wanted to get this one for when I finish Mating in Captivity and pick this up whenever the mood strikes. But I think this is going to be like a really interesting conversation. Just based on the TED Talk that I watched by her topic on this, she discusses how like infidelity isn't always happening to the chronic philanderer that have an affair. It can be anyone who has been monogamous for decades, but then just one day they cross the line. And why do they cross the line? That's where she discusses in this book. And I think it's going to be really interesting. So this is another book that I would like to read this month. I got a message from Libby from my library that Neon Gods by Katie Robert is available for me to read. So I will be reading that on ebook. So that is another book that I would like to get to at some point. Right now, just with my busy lifestyle, it can be pretty hectic and crazy sometimes. So I am actually now trying to read more diversely in terms of ebooks. Audiobooks are a little tricky right now for me, it's hard for me to listen and be able to grasp the information. But I'm definitely trying to switch between physical reading and ebook just because sometimes my phone is more readily available than a book. So that is it, you guys. That is all that I have for you today. I'm really sorry that it took me forever to get this video out, but I really thank you for being kind and understanding. And let me know down below, do you read nonfiction books? And if so, what kind of nonfiction books do you like to read? What kind of topics fascinate you? I've already explained what topics fascinate me, so I would love to hear your thoughts. Okay, that is all that I have for you, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.